Right. Hello, world and all who inhabit it.
Hello.
This is Courtney.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, this is our second take because I messed up. But we're gonna do this again because, you know, it's ADHD Awareness Month. It's Awareness Month of a lot of things. It's also LGBT History Month, and like, it's not, is it Breast Cancer Month too?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and then, like, it's a bunch of things, but people talk about ADD for like the first week and then they stop. And I put out the status on Facebook a while ago. I was like, it's ADD Awareness Month. What do you, as a person or a parent of someone who has it, want people to know? And she commented on it because
I have ADD, which is attention deficit disorder.
Yes.
So basically, it's hard for me to focus, pay attention to a lot of things.
Yeah.
So growing up is when I was in elementary school, I showed signs of it.
Yeah.
But it was in the early 90s, that wasn't a thing. We didn't diagnose kids with that. So I kind of just lived with it when I was younger. When I got to middle school is when it got really bad.
Yeah. And so you say it like started when you grew up and that you have trouble focusing on things. Is there like, is it just focusing on things? Is it like an energy thing as well? Is
it's both. So like sometimes I'd be like really hyper, and I wouldn't have like, you know, people like sugar get kids really hyper. You know, it wouldn't be stuff like, oh, she's hyper because she had a lot of candy. I was just hyper, very hyper. I remember in classes, like, I would be all over the place in my classroom. I would never sit down. I was always fidgeting with stuff and my fingers. Yeah. And focusing on certain subjects. Yeah, is always hard.
So, like, you said it got really bad in middle school. If you had to describe that thought process when you were in middle school, is it like jumping thoughts? Like, if I do not have ADD, if you had to say this is what it feels like, what would you say about what it feels like?
Well, so basically what it would be is, like, I would be thinking about one thing and then like, oh, I need to do this, and then go to that and forget about what I was doing and completely forget and then get back to it later. I do it all. I still do it now.
Yeah.
But younger in middle school, when I was actually diagnosed, is when my parents started making me take medication for it.
Okay. You say making you take medication. Do you think that it helped you? Is it something that you participated in the choice of doing?
I never wanted to take it. I didn't want to. I'd been on 3 different types. I've been on Concerta, I'd been on Ritalin, and I had tried a patch called Daytrana, which is one you like put on your hip.
Patches?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, they're about, well, depending on your dosage. There were some that were a little square. I had like the highest dosage, so they were really big ones.
I guess that kind of makes sense because I know there are birth control patches, but I never thought of a psychiatric medication being able to be doled out in that way.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, so your parents put you on medication.
Because mainly my mom really wanted me to. My dad didn't really care to, but my dad also doesn't have ADD or ADHD. My mom does, and so do my brothers.
Okay. So growing up in that would be a very energetic household.
Yeah, it was real fun.
So growing up with that,
yeah, because there was 4 of us.
Do you think that like kind of affected, like, do you see how that like affects your brothers from a day-to-day basis? Is it visible, or is it like?
So we all had like different types of it. So all my brothers also have ADHD and ADD. So one of my brothers that's a year younger than me, he had to be on medication. If he wasn't on it, you could tell, and he could not focus on anything. Whereas in middle school, I had to take it, but then about my sophomore, junior year, I didn't want to take it anymore. So my parents were like, well, if you don't want to take it, you need to prove that you don't need it.
Ooh, that's a tall order.
Yeah. So in middle school, I didn't care about taking it. It wasn't a big deal. 6th grade is actually when I started taking it, and I had actually been to a school that wasn't the greatest, so my mom actually transferred me out of the school I was in and put me into a gifted and talented school.
Oh, wow. For
kids with special needs.
Oh, okay.
So I was also in an environment where they were able to help if I wasn't understanding something.
That's really good. I don't know if you attended college. Did you attend college?
I took 2 years of college, and I wasn't on medication, and I stopped college.
Do you think that because it's technically classified as a learning disability?
Yes.
Do you think that not taking medication in college is why you left? Or did it have anything to do with it, or was it just totally unrelated?
So with me, like certain stuff, like for example, math. I hate math. I've always hated math.
Who likes math?
My brother loves math.
What?
Oh yeah. So for me, when it comes to math, I have to have stuff broken down to basically to where you can break it down to as low as you can, because with my ADD, it's hard for me if it's not something I like, my brain automatically goes, no, I don't want to pay attention to this.
Okay.
So for math, that was one of those things where my brain, nope, I don't want to pay attention to this. I don't want to learn this. So that was always harder for me. Whereas when I was on my medication, I was able to focus more.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I was in college, math was my biggest struggle, and I wasn't on medication. So I kind of think it was one of the reasons, but also not.
Okay. Yeah.
Like on the fence about it.
It's probably not the only reason, obviously, but like,
yeah.
I mean, and probably could be a pretty big factor. Like, I feel like there's a big expectation to be able to like watch someone's behavior and tell if they either have a mental illness or have a learning disability or something of that nature. And I think it's really interesting when like I tell people, hey, I'm bipolar, and they're like, I never would have guessed. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think people like can see it in you? Do you think that like, how do I put this? Do you think that like, I should have thought of how to word this before I said it. You know?
I think I know what you're getting.
But okay, so you kind of know what I'm saying.
I honestly never really tell people.
Okay.
Even when I was in high school and I was taking medications, and my closest friends, I didn't tell them.
Yeah.
Because I was out of school, even when I was in middle school, and I transferred to the gifted and talented school where there were tons of kids that, you know, had learning disabilities and all that. I didn't tell people because I was at a new school. I didn't know anybody. The only person I knew was my brother. So I didn't want to be like, oh, she's weird, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't tell people in high school either because, I mean, kids are bullies.
Kids are horrible.
And I didn't want to get made fun of because I was different. So I just kind of kept it to myself.
Yeah.
I think some of my friends were able to notice, like on the weekends, I didn't take my medication. So on the weekends when I was with my friends, I think they, you know, that's when I was different.
They can kind of, yeah.
Because the medications really mellow you down and make you really calm.
Yeah, it's weird because like for people who don't have it, it's like speed.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you, and in fact there have been studies where people like gave people meth versus like I think it was Ritalin, and like people like participants could not tell the difference.
Yeah,
which is really interesting. Like that says a lot about how like the makeup of the brain must be really different.
Yeah.
What would you say about there's this constant, like, it's becoming bigger and bigger now, not just with ADD, but I've noticed it in particular with ADD and ADHD, that like people are like, oh, it's like the popular diagnosis, it's just like to get your kids to behave, like yada yada yada. Like what would you as a person who lived with this your whole life have to say about that?
I mean, a lot of people do it when they're when they're little kids, like, oh, well, they're hyper. That's just a kid being a kid.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I was diagnosed with it, basically what they did was the doctor put me in a room, and there was a window or mirror on my side, window on their side, and basically had me take a test, answer questions, and they watched how I reacted in there taking the test in a room by myself with nothing else in there but the piece of paper or packet of papers, and then they also looked at my answers, which is how they diagnosed me.
Okay.
But I think it is getting a little out of hand. People are like, oh, well, I think my kid just has ADHD or ADD, so I want them on medication.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to get it now.
And then there's also the flip side of like all these people who are like, oh, it's not even real, or like the people who are like, oh, I'm so bipolar, I'm so ADD today, and that is a personal pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's really important. Like, what would you say to people who do not believe it's a real disorder?
I think it is. I mean, I took the medication, and I'm not gonna lie, it did help me focus and pay attention on stuff, because I really honestly couldn't. I was always fidgeting with everything around me. Same as with my brothers, it helped them a lot, especially my brother is only a year younger than me, and his is way more severe than what mine is. I was able to, show my parents that, hey, I don't need this medicine. I can teach myself how to focus and know when I'm not able to, and tell the teacher like, hey, I don't understand this and stuff. Whereas my brother, didn't have the ability to do that, and he had to take his medication.
Yeah, I had a boyfriend in high school who had ADD and ADHD.
So that's sort of my
and
brother.
he had to take like something twice a day, and like you could tell if he had not, it was around like dinner time and his mom was making us dinner, and she would go up to me and she'd be like, make him take his medicine.
Yeah.
And like there was a vast difference in how he reacted, how he focused, what he would say, what he would be interested in. And I feel bad saying this, but it would honestly really grate on my nerves because I'd be like, just take your medicine, Tyler, take it. But
Yeah.
like, you know, I think a lot of people, like, because if they're not around a person like who has like really overt symptoms, they're like, oh, it's not real. And like, that really bothers me because like the brain is not always, there's a siren. I wonder if you guys can hear that. The brain is not always a perfectly, like, things can, you know, go wrong with it, can be structured differently, chemicals can fire differently, so I think it's very important that we have these conversations.
Oh yeah, and well, there's also a whole bunch of different severities of it and different things it'll do. Like mine also made me have.
Go away! Shoo! Be gone with you! Sorry.
But mine also made me have to where I couldn't sleep, and I had bad anxiety.
Yeah.
So like high school, I literally only got 1 hour of sleep.
Wow.
I was actually put on sleeping medication that I took at like 7 o'clock to make me sleep. Because that was just another thing with my brain. With that, there was so much going on in my head where I couldn't sleep.
It kind of reminds me of what you're describing, actually, with it really reminds me of when I'm manic. And I think that's really interesting because, like, you jump from, like, thing to thing to thing. You're like, I think the difference is, though, like, I focus on all the things at once. And I'm like, I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to do all the things. Like, and I overburden myself and then I crash and there's depression. So, like, I do think it's really interesting, like, the similarities because bipolar and ADD or ADHD are often misdiagnosed for each other.
Yeah.
And that's just really interesting to me.
Like I laugh with some of my employees or coworkers at my work. They'll be like, "Gosh, your ADD is really bad today." Because like I'll be doing something on one side of my store, and then like I'll walk away, like, "Oh, I need to go do this now too," and then I'll start that, and I'm like, "Oh, I find that too." And
Like,
then they're like, "You didn't even finish that first one." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Sorry."
Like, oh yeah, right.
But I'm also the type of person though now, like where I know that I can't focus, so I need to write all this stuff down.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know what do you, I guess I would have two last things. What do you, like, how do you think it affects you now? Do you think it, like, because it obviously still affects you, you just talked about work.
Yeah.
Like, do you take medication for it now?
I don't take medication for it right now. There honestly has been a couple times where I've thought about it.
Yeah.
But I kind of just go, oh no, well, you don't really need it. And to me, it's also one of those things where it's money. That medication's not cheap, let me tell you that.
Yeah, definitely.
Those patches were probably about $120 for a month of them.
Yeah, I have one that that's complicated, but I was on for a bit, and that was $1,000 a month without insurance.
Yeah.
Like psychiatric medications are through the roof.
Well, one of my other brothers was also on the same patch that I was on. It was called Daytrana, and he hated taking medication. So what he would do is my mom would check to make sure we put it on in the morning before we left for school. Like, put it on your hip or your butt cheek. So can you imagine a 16-year-old like, oh, here you go, Mom. Look, there it is. And then
like, here's my butt.
Yeah.
I can't even. Wow.
My brother Jimmy would go to school and rip it off and throw it away.
Oh my gosh.
So my mom found out that he was doing that. So my mom would make me and him both check. She would check in the morning and then check when we got home to make sure it was still on.
That's actually. I wonder why he did that.
I have no clue. I don't think he knows. He just didn't
He was
like
just
it.
like, nope.
Yeah. I mean, it felt weird and it hurt to take it off, but I wasn't ever like,
That's
no.
an awesome ringtone.
No thanks. Harry Potter.
Yeah. My ringtone's like Archer and then the Freddy Fazbear theme. Is there, we should probably close this out. Is there any last thing that you would say, either to people who don't believe it or people who think that they have it and don't, like, let's go with people who think that they might have it and don't know if they should get help. Like, what would you say to them?
I mean, it doesn't hurt. You go to a psychologist and it doesn't hurt to talk to them. I mean,
No, it's pretty painless, generally speaking.
It is.
It can be hard.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have you sit there and, I mean, you're gonna talk about everything.
Everything.
But to really figure out if you have it or not, I mean, I don't want people to just automatically go, oh, well, let me go talk to them so I can get the medication. Because a lot of people do that and don't realize that it can really mess with you.
Yeah, it really can. You need to be honest with them if you're gonna do that.
It definitely does change you as like a person and your personality when you're on it. Like I said, when I was on it, I was very mellow and like down. When I wasn't on it, my friends would notice a difference, like, oh gosh, you're really hyper.
Yeah.
And so my personality was very outgoing and bubbly when I wasn't on it, but like very to myself when I was on it. So it's one of those things with that. And for people that don't think it's real, I mean, it is. It's not something made up.
There's so much research and evidence. There's even brain scans that like show different, like it fires differently, like, which is fascinating. But also, like, how can you? I find it difficult to make an argument for it not being real, knowing that.
Yeah.
So
my brain works differently than other people's.
There are people who are misdiagnosed. That happens, but who don't have it and get diagnosed. That does happen, but that doesn't mean it's not something that we should be aware of. And I'm sorry that this is at the end of the month. we tried to do this like
probably 3 times.
Yeah, and I was so sick last week. I was just like, I couldn't even walk to the gas station to get ibuprofen. I had to call. And like my apartment's here, the gas station is here. It's not like they're far apart. So like I had to text my friend and I was like, can you bring me milk and bread? Because like they make me feel better when I'm sick. And he was just like, and then he came over and he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna let you go back to bed. And then I like went in the mirror and I was just like so pale. So like I'm really, really thankful that we were able to schedule this and do it technically during October. I really hope it actually gets uploaded during October. That is at the mercy of the internet and my computer. So, but if not, it's not like people should just stop being aware that this is a thing during October. It's still a thing in November and December and everything else. I forgot what January was. I'm born in January.
How did you forget that?
I was like, what's next? April? No.
You missed February too.
Anyway, all right, but thank you guys for watching. You can share this video with people who may need to see it. If you think that you have something going on, there is no shame in getting professional help.
Go to the doctor.
Go to the doctor, and if your doctor is a jerk face and doesn't want to talk to you about it, go to another doctor. Like, don't just settle for being like, I know something is wrong, and leave it at that if they won't listen to you. Like, there's no shame in getting psychiatric help, is all I'm trying to say.
And you can always, if you go to your normal doctor, you can have them, recommend.
You can have them refer you.
Yeah.
So that's all I really got. Do you have anything else?
That's it.
All right. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah. I wish I could get a close up on her eyes because one's brown and one's blue. It's really cool.
I can scoot up.
There
Boom.
it is. My eyes are just blue and brown in the middle. Bye.